In this episode, we're going to be continuing on with this repair of the Hitachi 3D9, or as it's officially known here as the TRK 9230. The issue with this unit was that it was getting no power at all, and a few tests have revealed that the switch seems to be the issue. So I've got replacement switches here. I got these from AliExpress about a week and a half to get here. So yeah, really quick. And there's the old switch here, so we can see the difference here. Now, this is a 20.5mm, refers to the length here of the pins. Side to side, you can see they're really accurate, like it's almost identical in the positioning of the pins here. So this should fit perfectly and replace the original switch. So I'm not sure if I showed this in the last episode, but there is a screw here. There's also a screw that's located on the top here of the EQ board. Top section here, and once you take those out, you can actually just slide the whole assembly out. Okay, so here's the switch that I pulled off last time, that was just here. You can see that that switch just goes in there like that. So just move that out of the way. It's really important that these are the correct length pins, because if they're not and they fit in slightly too far this way or too far that way, it needs to line up with the cutout hole that's over here. So the neck on this actually lines up perfectly. So check the description if you need a replacement switch for your Hitachi unit. This is the original cap that's come back over here, and what I'm going to do here is line this up. So that looks like it lines up pretty good. You can see here cap that sticks out. Then the last episode when I opened this up, I fixed that thing, and that's still in there like rock solid. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and solder up this switch here, work out the best way to align this for soldering. Just going to pull this out a little bit. I think this might be the best way to do it. Now, it's always handy to put in these notes and chuck them into the unit, especially if you've got the unit sitting around for like a few weeks or months. So if you have a look here at these two central pins here, I've just bent those over just a little bit. Now, I'm not a big fan of bending pins. If I need to remove it, usually when you have bent pins, it's just a really annoying thing to be pulling bent pins out all the time. So what I usually do here is just bend them about 45 degrees, and then I'll just put a little bit of solder across the bridge. Pins soldered up. Before I power this thing on, what I'm going to do here is just going to test this switch to make sure that it lines up perfectly with the cutout on the face here. So now when you're putting the faceplate back on here, it's really important to make sure you've got this little plastic divider thing here, which just goes over the top of this little, I think that's the headphone jack. It needs to fit just down in between that and the push button. Also, make sure, look on the top here, make sure that that selector switch here is fitting down into this recess here where the circle is, otherwise it won't be pushed down flat enough. So there's a look at the front face, and that switch looks perfect. FM. I'm going to just turn the volume down a little bit. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that button. So let's get this thing powered up. So let's power it on and see what we get. Okay, so we've got the LEDs up, which is good.
And that's why this...
Next thing to do, of course, we need to test out the tape deck. Basically, every Hitachi that I fix up has got a belt that's just turned to liquid. Yeah, so okay, if I look down here, I can actually see the belt. It actually has two screws on this top section here, so I'm guessing those two need to come out. There's another screw down here, and there's also another screw here that's located underneath the motor. I've never seen the actual switch connected to a large assembly like that before. Okay, so I've removed, oh shit. So remove those two top screws here, and I should be able to just lever this out. Now you can see I've got the band there connected to the counter, so I'm just going to pull that out and just leave it. So there's a little bit of a wire management here that's holding these wires together. But actually, I think I should be able to just maybe bend that out a little bit. I must be very careful here. Here's a bit of the rubber. You can see that's almost turned to goo. Get out the tissues. That's what you're going to need to get all this stuff off. There's no special way of doing this. It's really just a case of going through and just getting as much of this off with a screwdriver as you can. And then what I usually do here, without removing the roller, I just get a brush with a little bit of IPA, scrub it, and should be able to get most of it off. But it's really important to get as much as you can off with a screwdriver. So that way there's only just a little bit left here, and this stuff just gets on everything. You can take the roller off here, but it's actually on a rod through there, so you might have to knock it out. But I think I'm just going to do it from here. Okay, so it looks like it's all over the spindle on the motor. So I'm going to have to take off this plate that's actually behind the capstan and the other rollers, and I'll have to take a picture of this, just make sure that I get this back exactly how it was. I really need to get at the back here. 3 little screws. There's one over here, another one that sits just in here, spring that goes over the top of this plate. So you have to remove that screw over here on this eject door. That has to come out as well. Wiggle this plate free. Once you've got those 3, you should be able to gently just pull this back plate out. So you can see here the rubber belt all around this bottom spindle here. Yeah, is this a case of the wobbly motor? No, it's not. This was actually pretty good. So I've actually lost a spring just now. It's exactly what I was just talking about, and why you have to be really careful when you take these things off, just to make sure you visually inspect everything around it first before you remove anything. I'm pretty sure that comes off that hook there, because it does have supposed to have a spring on it. So looking at this belt configuration, now I don't have the schematics for this, so I'm just going to have to jump online and see how many belts this thing actually has. So I can see there's a single channel spindle on that motor, double spindle on that capstan, that this single one here up the top, but I can see that one is lined up with this one. I'm guessing that there was another belt in here, and this possibly has 2 belts. Totally clean this out, ready for the new belts. So I've just discovered another problem here with the keys on the actual tape deck unit. They're all actually breaking. So you can see these points here. So this one here, they're so small, these little tips there. You can see one on the ground here. I'm not sure how they expected that to ever hold up. So in order to glue the keys back on here, what you need to do here is apply glue in this section here and this section here, then over on the other side here and here. These are the higher sections of that plastic back panel there. These other keys are going to break as well, but luckily it's an easy fix to fit the keys back on there. So when I press fast forward, you can see this little spindle here moves outwards. If we lift this up, so it moves out this way. When I press rewind, it moves inwards that way. So we want the belt to be tight enough so that when it's in the fast forward position, which is closest to this main capstan, there's still a little bit of tension on it. So I'm using, this is an 80mm belt, or it's just actually slightly over, it might be about 82mm. 80mm to 85mm. I also would suggest probably using a 1.2mm belt. Okay, so I've got a 70mm folded main belt here. This is the belt that runs off the motor. So no problem with the counter belt. I'm just going to leave that. It's a little tad loose, but that's fine. It seems to be working when I turn this, the counters. That's fine. I'm going to put these all these screws back together. Also any springs that you've taken out, which is this main spring here, and also there's another spring that controls the eject lever over on the left hand side there. Now also make sure that before you fit this back together, make sure you press and engage all of the buttons on the front here, just to make sure that everything's working. Make sure that record engage part there is pushed all the way up before you put all the back plate back in together. So I've glued those keys back on here, and I think it's possible that I may have broken these keys when I turned this circuit board up and put it face down. That may have led to what broke it, but it is pretty thin, those little hooks that are on the top there, so just be very careful. But like I said, you can repair these pretty easy. I've just used a little bit of Loctite 401 and glued all those keys back in. So the rest of the unit here is pretty much good to go. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a clean up quickly, open up these speakers. I'm going to have a look. See on the back here, these speakers look pretty good. Yeah, so there's a look at the speakers, and these things look like they're brand new. I mean, seriously, this whole unit looks in fantastic condition. Contender for the cleanest boombox that I've ever seen. Really nice little dust pads inside the grills here. Yeah, so not a speck of dust on these things. So yeah, really getting sick of using the old orchestral tape. So I'm going to make something on my computer upstairs with my gear. Okay, so here's a look at the 3D9, and it's all cleaned up. All the keys are glued back on. So I've gone and recorded some music that I've made on my synthesizers. Yeah, so that's it for this episode. I want to thank everyone for watching. Hopefully this video helps you out in your boombox repairs.
Thank you.